everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com and I'm here with yet more wrestling news. There's been quite a lot of news to talk about today regarding wrestlers from different promotions leaving, signing for new places, that sort of thing. Also some updates on some big upcoming wrestling events. So without any further ado, let's take a look at those headlines. First of all, Impact Wrestling have reportedly signed a former WWE tag team. Next up, there was a title change last night on Monday Night Raw. And finally, WWE are apparently very likely to be signing a top free agent in the current wrestling landscape. So yes, according to Sportskeeda, first of all, Impact Wrestling are said to have signed two former WWE superstars, and they are none other than Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. The pair are expected to debut at Slammiversary on July 18th or shortly after the event. I would guess that they would debut at Slammiversary itself to make a big splash, Impact using one of their biggest shows of the year to say, look, we've got this huge tag team in. And remember, before they signed for WWE, Gallows and Anderson were one of the biggest tag teams on the planet. There was a lot of hype when they signed with WWE, not just because they signed alongside AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. I think a lot of people saw Gallows and Anderson as doing kind of what FTR are doing in AEW today, coming in as kind of a newer age NWO, an outsider force trying to rip up the status quo. And of course, even if it may have started out that way for Gallows and Anderson in WWE, it didn't quite pan out that way, did it? There were a lot of ups and downs for the pair. I guess their best work, you could say, was when they were part of a trio alongside AJ Styles, but they were never truly really allowed to shine like we had seen them prior to their WWE run. At the same time, they were entertaining, they're both very funny on the mic, but in terms of wrestling, good, solid tag matches, they weren't really given the opportunity to. And it seems like our last memory of Gallows and Anderson could well be just getting absolutely destroyed, possibly kayfabe killed off by The Undertaker in that boneyard match. Now, another very interesting part of this story, according to Sportskeeda again, is that apparently a part of Gallows and Anderson's deal with Impact allows them to wrestle in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, of course, it's New Japan where Gallows and Anderson maybe made the biggest impact, no pun intended, because they were part, of course, of the Bullet Club. In fact, Carl Anderson was one of the founding members. And not only were they a very dominant, very scary tag team in New Japan, but Anderson was also a bit of a legit single star at times as well. He once made the final, for example, of the G1 Climax. So I'm very excited for the prospect of Gallows and Anderson rocking up on Impact at Slammiversary to cause a little bit of havoc. You could even suggest they maybe put straight into a tag title situation against the North, another very good tag team. But I'm also very excited at the prospect of them coming back to New Japan, presumably rejoining with the Bullet Club and raising some hell there too. Next up on last night's Raw, well, it was a very eventful Raw. We saw various different things in the build-up to Extreme Rules. For example, we saw a double contract signing between Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler and Asuka and Sasha Banks. That led to them all mixing it up later on in the night. But there was also a title change on the show. Now, I'll be honest, when I first read that there was a title change on Raw last night, I scanned the matches, I thought, oh, what's this going to have been? And I saw that Apollo had faced MVP, and I was thinking, they've taken that belt off Apollo Crews already, haven't they? It's okay, it's a false alarm. They didn't put the US title on MVP. Great US champion of the past, probably not the guy you want to beat Apollo for it now, though. And it's fine, MVP did win the match. But that was a non-title match. The title that changed hands, and you're never going to believe this, was the bloody 24/7 championship. That's right, Akira Tozawa is no longer 24/7 champion. It is instead R-Truth of all people. I believe this makes Truth a 37-time 24/7 champion. And basically what happened was this. The pair were booked in a singles match for the title. R-Truth faked an injury, Tozawa stopped wrestling. Very sporting of him, despite the fact that he seems to be a heel at the moment. Truth used the pause to jump into a quick roll-up, 1, 2, 3, and then the title changed hands. Truth is the new champion. But he also almost didn't escape Raw with the title, as one of Tozawa's ninjas jumped in the ring, tried to roll up Truth. He managed to kick out and then scurry away. 24/7 division's funny, isn't it? So yeah. You could try and look at this in a positive way, because immediately my thought is a wrestler as talented and as brilliant and as charismatic as Akira Tozawa is stuck running around after R-Truth with a bunch of ninja friends. But at the same time, you could argue at least it's giving him a bit of a platform. Maybe he can parlay this into something better further down the line. It's a big ask because we've not really seen much of, for example, Riddick Moss since he was 24/7 champion. But you never know. So hopefully Tozawa can do it. Hopefully he can turn this small bit of momentum into something greater and once again be a more featured member of the roster. I really think he is one of the most quietly underutilized people in WWE today. Of course, it's only a matter of time, I think at least, until one of the ninjas wins the 24/7 title and we all wonder who it is and it messes up the title's lineage because we just don't know who the guy was. And then what if he debuts as an actual wrestler under his own gimmick later on and then he wins the 24/7 title and we don't know whether to count it, the original ninja reign, as one of his overall reigns. I love stats and I hate when they get messed up. Next up, now you'll probably know if you follow NXT that tomorrow night is the first night of the 2-week NXT Great American Bash special. That's right, so over the next 2 weeks, both NXT and AEW will be doing 2-week pay-per-view substitutes, I think it's fair to say. So not real pay-per-views, they'll be on TV, but they'll have more pay-per-view caliber cards, title matches, that sort of thing, spread out over 2 weeks. NXT's is the Great American Bash, AEW's is Fyter Fest. There's some big matches on both, so it should be a very competitive 2 weeks. But last night on Raw, WWE announced something that could make NXT's edition of this pay-per-view fortnightly extravaganza a little bit more competitive. That's right, on Raw, WWE aired a promo for the show where it was announced that NXT Great American Bash will feature limited commercials. So it's airing on the USA Network this week and there'll be limited commercial breaks. Obviously, this is some sort of attempt to try and gain an edge, I guess, over AEW and Fyter Fest. I don't know how they've done it. I don't know enough about TV laws and network contracts and all that sort of thing, but seems like a good decision, so fair play to them. Now let's just take a look at the lineup very quickly for the Great American Bash. So, most of the matches confirmed are for night 1, but there is one huge match confirmed for night 2 as well. So, on night 1, tomorrow night, we will see the following matches. Roderick Strong will take on Dexter Lumis in the first ever NXT strap match. Robert Stone and Aaliyah will take on Rhea Ripley in a 2-on-1 handicap match, and if Rhea Ripley loses, she'll have to join the Robert Stone brand. I can't see that happening. Oney Lorcan will take on Timothy Thatcher in what could be an excellent match if it's given enough time. Io Shirai will take on Sasha Banks, but neither of those women's respective titles will be on the line. Again, that could be a hell of a match. And finally, in a fatal 4-way elimination match to determine Io Shirai's new #1 contender, it'll be Dakota Kai versus Tegan Nox versus Mia Yim versus Candice LeRae. And then the only match announced for week 2 on July 8th is the big one, the title versus title winner-take-all match between the NXT champion Adam Cole and the NXT North American champion Keith Lee. Now let's go back to the topic of signing various wrestlers moving from one promotion to the next. This one requires a little bit of background. So recently you may have heard that Impact Wrestling released their champion, not their women's champion, their champion overall, Tessa Blanchard. Instantly, that made Tessa Blanchard, although despite being quite a controversial figure recently, that did make her probably one of the hottest free agents in the wrestling world today. Then last week, Dave Meltzer reported that WWE were indeed keeping an eye on Tessa Blanchard and would potentially be interested on bringing her into the company. Now, we have an update on the situation. This comes via TalkSport, who say that a source close to Tessa Blanchard have told them that WWE is her likely landing spot. So, not only is WWE apparently interested in Tessa Blanchard, but now it seems Tessa Blanchard is also apparently interested in WWE. From the sounds of it, it seems like only a matter of time until she comes along. Now, where would she end up? I mean, you've got to assume that she'd just come to NXT first and then work her way up. But the ability of Tessa Blanchard means that honestly, she could be slotted immediately into Raw or SmackDown, and I think could just make an impact straight away. But then again, of course, she is a controversial figure in the past. Various different women's wrestlers spoke out about her bullying and alleged racism as well. So it's a bit of a tricky subject. If she's able to, I guess, leave that in the past and make amends with the people that she has reportedly wronged, then you know, the sky seems to be the limit for her as far as actual in-ring talent goes. TalkSport's source also said that apparently Tony Khan and AEW are not interested in Tessa Blanchard, so they can basically be ruled out of the equation. There's not really, apparently, any chance of her rocking up in AEW. So very exciting times if you are indeed a fan of Tessa Blanchard. She could be joining the NXT women's division potentially and just bolstering the strength of WWE's women's division overall. She really is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, which makes it a shame about, you know, getting embroiled in all that controversial stuff. And finally, while we're on the topic of a former Impact star, why not talk about a recently announced new match for the Slammiversary card this year. So, Impact Wrestling announced that there'll be a big gauntlet match at Slammiversary, with the winner becoming the #1 contender for Jordan Grace's Knockouts Championship. But of course, at Slammiversary as well, Jordan Grace is defending against Deonna Purrazzo, so there's no real telling who the winner of this match will face off against. The competitors are Rosemary, Nevaeh, Susie, which is the alter ego of Su Yung, of course, Kiera Hogan, Taya Valkyrie, Tasha Steelz, Alicia Edwards, Smiley Kylie Rae, formerly of AEW, of course, Kimberly, and Jessica Havoc. And once again, the format of that match is a gauntlet match. A few more matches are already announced for Slammiversary, which once again takes place on July 18th, 2020. The other matches are Willie Mack defending the Impact X Division Championship against Chris Bay, Ace Austin, Eddie Edwards, Trey Miguel, and a mystery wrestler competing for the vacant Impact World Championship, which was vacated, of course, when Tessa Blanchard left. That gauntlet match that I talked about just now, and of course, Jordan Grace defending the Knockouts Championship against the new star, Deonna Purrazzo. So that is it for today's news video. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Tom will be heading along soon with a Raw graded episode, and also I think he may be doing a news video as well, should further news break today. Also, in the comments, just give Owen a happy birthday, my housemate and one of our editors at Cultaholic, because it's his bloody birthday, isn't it? What a guy. He's not editing this video, but I have still had to beg him to help me set up the camera and stuff because I'm rubbish at technology. So yes, once again, thank you very much for watching. Stay safe out there, keep yourselves positive, and I'll see you very soon.